and to dust you shall return. 604 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Mardi Gras is over. We're all done. We're on Ash Wednesday now. Got a big Wednesday show for you, by the way. Attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served. We'll be talking with Franz about a stack of different topics. We might even be talking with him about himself. I don't know if that's on the table or not, but Franz coming up about 20 minutes from right now. Go ahead, hit him up.
Don't we always talk about me?
I mean, but like in a real way this time, like as the subject, if you will. Along with Franz, we have got Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. Let's get a recap on Mardi Gras. How did things play out? Did we see and if you'll pardon the pun from yesterday's weather, did we see the perfect storm for Mardi Gras this year? We had a late Mardi Gras season, giving people more time to make their reservations, coupled with unquantifiable amounts of free advertising because the Super Bowl was in town. How'd those two things play out? What did Mardi Gras look like? We'll talk with Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company at 7:15. Dr. Cade Brumley, our State Superintendent of Education, at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, let's talk red lights with Fred Raiford. And District Attorney Hillar Moore is going to be in at 8:35. Plus top stories and trending, the outside in. No outside in, because Hillar's going to be in the whole way through. Plus top stories and trending and this day in history. Top stories and trending starts right now.
Number 5.
Storm damage, such as trees falling on houses and blocking roads, has been reported across the capital area yesterday. At one point, more than 10,000 people were without power. Possible tornado damage has been reported in Darrow and in Gramercy. The St. James Parish Sheriff's Office says there was a tornado or possible tornado touchdown in Gramercy behind Taylor's Express on Highway 3125. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office said 5 homes were reportedly damaged from a tornado as well.
Number 4.
Southern University junior Caleb Wilson's death is now being investigated as hazing related. The WBRZ, our news partners at WBRZ, their investigative unit learned this yesterday. A source close to the investigation tells BRZ that the human jukebox trumpet player was punched in the chest before collapsing, potentially while being hazed. Several other pledges were subjected to the same activity.
Number 3.
Number 3, if I could scroll, here we go. Police said Monday 34-year-old Brandon Guidry was accused of 5 felonies after stealing a cart full of groceries from the Rouse's Market on Drusilla Lane during the weekend. After his arrest, Officer Zachary Evans said Guidry complained about being charged with 5 felonies while he was, quote, only stealing from one store.
Did you also notice that his car is a Beamer? In the story, the suspect's car is a Beamer. He's stealing groceries, items, and going towards his BMW.
Boss, you got to make those payments somehow, man. You got to make those payments somehow.
Number 2.
A man was arrested for a homicide last Thursday for his involvement in a shooting death of his relative on Catalpa Drive. 46-year-old Hassan Sabir Sabri was booked in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for negligent homicide and illegal use of weapons after his relative, 41-year-old Danielle Dillard, was shot and killed. Dillard was found deceased inside the Catalpa Drive residence. I believe it was the day before, so it was on last Wednesday.
Number 1.
On Tuesday evening, chaos erupted during a Mardi Gras celebration in Mamou that resulted in a fatal shooting. The incident happened at a Chris Ardwan was performing at the Mardi Gras Zydeco concert. This, by the way, was just one day after another shooting in Mamou that left 3 people injured on Monday. It's just another Mamou Monday. What you got, John?
Well, President Trump's tariffs against products and materials from Mexico and Canada went into effect yesterday.
Yes, they did. And China, too.
Right?
Yes, I saw that. China as well. China's probably going to be the bigger impact on the economy.
It will.
I think Canada's going to learn very quickly that they don't matter.
Oh, yeah, well.
Is what it is, boss.
It is, yeah, exactly.
We're being told that our energy prices are going to go up. This is at the same time that President Trump said last night, literally, quote, drill, baby, drill. Our energy prices might spike for a quick second in northeastern portions of the United States, but nah, boss.
Yeah.
No, you don't have the kind of flex you think you do.
Oh, absolutely not. And speaking of last night, Congressman Al Green got himself kicked out of the president's address to the joint session of Congress last night.
Hey, he seemed very angry for a man that sang "Love and Happiness." I know it's a different Al Green. I was sitting on 4 different punchlines, didn't know which one to go with.
Let's stay together.
Let's stay together. That's
Stay together.
In fact, how many people who hate Donald Trump would have fallen in love with Donald Trump if he would have said that from the podium last night when Al Green's like waving that cane at him, waving that cane and hollering, and he just said, "Ow, ow, ow, let's stay together." You win people over with that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Win them over with comedy, man. Hey, bad weather or not, Mardi Gras rolled on yesterday.
Yeah,
so
I know. It was, by all accounts, a very successful Mardi Gras season. Rex and Zulu had to make all kinds of accommodations to get themselves in before the weather. And then the weather decided to hold up and run a little bit later than was projected.
Right.
For example, we were supposed to be getting all that wind and everything by about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. Make it more like 12-1. We were supposed to be getting the rain by 1 or 2 o'clock. Make that more like 4 o'clock. It just, man, could have been so much more. But
could have.
And it wasn't just New Orleans. We saw everybody. Irwinville put a parade back in. They haven't had it in a decade. Mamu, aside from the shooting at the concert, right. Mamu was a great success. I still promise I got to do that at some point. I got to go chase chickens. Yeah. I want to put on the whole costume, run around chasing chickens.
Maybe next year.
Franz, it looks disapproving.
There's only one person that can chase a chicken and get away with it.
That's Rocky too.
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah,
that's it.
We're coming up on 612 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hey, before we take our first break, and we're going to come back and talk sports in just a little bit. Before we take our first break, got to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website. LandmarkBankLA.com. Look, if you want to make sure that you don't just have a bank, you have a banker, you need Landmark Bank. They've been doing this for over 100 years. Their little tagline underneath their logo says, "Our strength, your future." 100% right on that front. Whether you're talking personal banking or business banking, they've got you covered for all of the traditional banking services. And oh, by the way, just because you're going with a smaller bank, just because you're going with a bank that believes when you walk through the front door, there's someone there to shake your hand and make sure that you have a relationship with your banker, you're not losing any of the digital services. I was on their website the other day where, look, you want to talk about online banking, bill pay, e-statements, mobile banking, pop money, card controls, mobile deposit. All these things are available through their digital services for your personal banking. And when it comes to the business end, they've got you covered there too. Check out their locations at landmarkbankla.com. Landmarkbankla.com. You got 8.2? 8.2? That's going to be the only one I'll call for.
So I do not have Court TV at 7. I have it at 9.
Okay.
So I can stay until 7. I think I'm going to hit Sacred Heart up.
What time's theirs?
8. Yeah. And then I have to be back in my office for 9. So
makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think Cathedral has a morning one.
Let's see. Because I'm starting to worry that Francis Xavier isn't going to come through.
You might be going out to
St. George, 6:15, 8 noon, 6. Our Lady of Mercy, 6:30, 8 and 6. Sacred Heart, 8 and 6. St. Agnes, 6 noon and 5:30. Aloysius, 6, 8 noon, 6. St. Gerard, I'm not calling it St. Gerald.
Gerard,
9 and noon. St. Jude, 8:30 noon, 6:30. St. Patrick, 8 noon, 6. Francis Xavier, 9 and 6. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm not recording the outside in today because we got Hillar in the house, so I got to go all the way right up until 9. But I'm gonna blast out like immediately to go hit up over there. Yeah, dude. 8 o'clock at that's obvious. That's easily your best bet.
Yeah, and then back to
right.
The office.
Does Christ the King not offer?
They're in session. I would imagine they do. Do they just not post it?
I don't know. They're listed 11:45 here. They offer daily mass Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday is 11:45 a.m. But I don't. Oh, Ash Wednesday. Here we go. 11 a.m. confession, noon, and 6 and 8. That guy sounds different. Okay. No. Ray Romero is our guy. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Put another one in the books for the LSU basketball Tigers. They moved to 14 and 16, 13 and 14 in 3 and 14 in conference play as they fall. When I say put another one in the books, I mean another L. That's just all you're getting out of LSU for the rest of this basketball season. They fall on the road at Kentucky, 64-95. Lose by 31 to the 19th ranked Kentucky Wildcats, and it was gross, y'all. It was 50-23 at halftime. The second half, LSU turned on a little more offense, but couldn't put up any defense to get a whole lot of stops. The second half score was 45-41. So, if you're looking for Tigers who did well last night, well, you're not going to find a whole lot. Jordan Sears had 13 points, but I want to say like 7 of the 13 were in the last 3 minutes of the ball game. Cam Carter had 14. He's your normal Cam Carter. Robert Miller III had 15 points. Now, I want to talk about that for just a second because Robert Miller III is a name that we're going to need to remember going into next year. Looking at this team right now, you're not looking at what you're getting out of the 2024 to 2025 LSU Tigers. You're looking at what can come for the next crop of Tigers, and Robert Miller III is going to be a big part of that. There are only 8 Tigers, I believe, even got playing time last night. So it was brutal. 95-64. LSU is mercifully just about done with this season. In fact, I believe Texas A&M is the only game that's left. Yep. Texas A&M will be the last regular season game. LSU's taking them on Saturday, 3 p.m. if you wanted to check it out. A&M's ranked number 22 in the country. It's just there's no way to tell if LSU will hang because sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Let's move over to baseball, where you can expect a lot more consistency. Or you can see an opponent put up 7 runs in the first 3 innings. LSU has North Dakota State in town right now. Last night was rough. 3-0 was your first inning. Then LSU got one of those runs back in the second. And then the third, both teams posted up 4 runs. That's a lot for North Dakota State, who came into the game at 1-9. Now, fortunately for LSU, they battled back and eventually get an 11-9 win off of this 2 RBI hit by Stephen Milam.
As the clock strikes 10, Milam hits a shot down the right field line. 1 run will score. 2 runs will score. Stephen Milam with a stand-up 2 RBI double here in the bottom of the 8th inning to give the Tigers a 2-run lead in its first lead of the game.
Look, midweek games do a lot of things. One of those is showing when a team can overcome adversity. You're going to get down in Southeastern Conference play. So this is an example of now they know how to dig in and how to pull it back. By the way, tonight at 6:30 p.m., LSU and North Dakota State go right back at it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. So what do you want to start with, Franz?
Whatever you want to talk about, Brian. I was sending that for you to look at.
Oh, okay.
Not that was. And I am limited on what I can respond because the law, even when cleared, retaliatory comments are actionable as well, as actionable as allegations of Title IX violations. So,
how do you determine what's a retaliatory comment and what's a self-defense?
I don't. Unfortunately, people subject to those provisions, they don't get a self-defense in a public forum. So, but it is what it is. We can talk about. Man, this some BS. 5 felonies.
Let's start there.
One of the store persons follows him to the parking lot to get his license and whatnot, and films him. And my boy, like, hits that store employee, takes his phone, and then another one comes out. What was the store?
Rouse's on
Rouse's.
By the way, shoplifting is at a ridiculous clip right now. Matherns has to battle it. The downtown location has the 2 entrances.
I stopped someone from shoplifting at Don Juan's Cigar the other day.
Really?
I called the dude. I saw him do it. I called him out and I said, put it back. And like, he was like, no, I was going to pay for it, as he was putting it in his pocket. I was like, no. And in a way, I'm a hero.
No,
no, not so.
No, it's not how that works at all.
But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that shoplifting is up. It's a misdemeanor.
Correct.
I mean, have you seen the price of eggs? I'm gonna shoplift some eggs.
But but it's like, and it's not even a matter of like trying to save money or whatnot. It's just a matter of, I don't care. I have no basis in morality here. I missed the black BMW line. Oh, shoot. Let me get the traffic ready to go. Damn it.
No social media for Lent. I think I'm going to die. I'm like already like scratching. I'm already like.
All right, let's head on back to the Charbelle's Tire Traffic Center where, man, I don't know. Y'all acting like yesterday was Mardi Gras or something because ain't nobody on the road. I-12 westbound coming in from Livingston Parish looks great. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great. I-10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge looks great, as does 110. Both bridges are looking good as well. If we want to hop off and take a look at the surface streets, we do have an accident with injury, O'Neill, right near I-12. So O'Neill near I-12 east. So I guess that would be just north of the interstate. Nope. I'm sorry. East would be south of the interstate. You're going to find an accident with injuries on O'Neill Lane, and that's the only thing happening this morning that you're looking at traffic from the Charbelle's Tire Traffic Center. .624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Ash Wednesday edition. Time for Legally Served. What you say, Franz? How you doing, brother?
Happy Ash Wednesday, fellas.
Yes, likewise. And to you, sir.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, man.
We're both already mapping out in the morning to figure out when we can hit up the mass. Which, by the way, interestingly enough, is not a holy day of obligation.
It isn't?
It's not.
It feels like it is.
I feel like it should be.
So for the uninitiated, for us Catholics, we're not supposed to eat meat today. We're supposed to fast.
We're not supposed to eat today.
We're supposed to fast.
Correct.
All right. The traditional way of honoring it is no meat. And yes, I get it. We're in South Louisiana, so I mean, is that really a sacrifice?
Well, no meat on Fridays isn't a sacrifice because every Knights of Columbus out there does a fish fry.
Yeah, right. So
and every pastor out there swears their Knights of Columbus does it better.
It is a full mass, though.
It is a full mass.
Yeah. So yeah,
but not a holy day of obligation.
It's first day of Lent. Oh, love it.
You get to go in and you find out how much the priest loves you or doesn't based off of just how much ash ends up on that forehead.
I am a member of a church where they spackle the ash right on that forehead. I mean, it's not like it's lack of humility.
Not to get too inside baseball, but avoid Deacon Grant.
Yeah. So like if you feel like some Catholics out there are doing this for show, we really have no control over what goes on the forehead, right? But if you go to a certain person at a certain church, they're going to spackle the mud on you.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, I'll be hitting up a different church today just because, the schedule.
Yeah.
It's stacked up.
By the way, you don't go to hell for not getting the ash.
That's correct.
Right.
But the ash is important. And it's not that the ash is important. It's the entire process of putting yourself in that church to where you do realize that, yes, we come from dust and to dust we shall return. And it's a humbling way to start Lent off. As opposed to, and look, I'm not hating on it, but I kind of am. The drive-through ash. Can't do the drive-through. There's a number of denominations out there that offer little drive-through ash, and I'm just look, because it's not a day of obligation, so you're not required to go to church.
To remind you that you are mortal. It's a memento. It's that from ashes you were born, from ashes you shall return.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't make you holy.
I know.
Doesn't make you devout or righteous.
But I feel like doing a drive-through ash, it's not. I don't want fries with that. Too much? Not enough?
So the question becomes, this is a legal segment, but the question becomes...
Well, we got a minute and a half till break now.
So the question becomes are you too busy on Ash Wednesday to get ashes? Because
that's my point.
For most people who are working...
Franz.
For most people who are working, your option are what? Either extremely early or in the evening.
Or you make a conscious choice to step away from what you're doing.
Ash Wednesday is not a holiday.
No, I know.
Yesterday was a holiday.
I
right?
understand that. But you make a conscious choice to say, I'm going to find a way to go to church.
Yeah. You
know what? We're going to talk about somebody who needs confession right after we take our break. Police said Monday a man was accused of 5 felonies after stealing a cart full of groceries from the Rouse's Market on Drusilla Lane over the weekend. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Before we take our break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com. If you're talking business travel, if you're talking personal travel, you can't get more convenient than the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It is right up the road from us here. Do you want to worry about paying for parking while you're gone? Or just hop an Uber? You need to ask a friend for a ride to the airport. You're not asking them for a ride to Kenner. You're asking them for a ride right up 110. It's so much more convenient. When you take everything into account, it's so much more convenient. And oh, by the way, you got the direct flight to D.C. If you're heading to our nation's capital for business or pleasure, heading to our nation's capital, you can go right from here to there. From BTR to Reagan, which is right in the heart of things. You're not flying out to Dulles, which is like 3 hours away. You're going right into the heart of it. So, flybtr.com. Before you make your reservations, do the shop and compare the entire price, not just the price of the ticket at flybtr.com. Quick break for news, traffic, weather. Legally Served continues next.
mean, this social media thing is really going to bother me.
Why?
Not looking.
Yeah.
Not looking. Not posting is. Yeah, but like that's part of the exercise. Is the apps can be on the phone, and I have to white knuckle my way through not looking at them.
Right. At the end of it, though, you'll be like, it was worth it.
Yeah.
So what I have noticed is if you give up something like social media for a large period of time and then you get back on it, you can feel the dopamine.
Yeah.
Like when you immediately get back on.
And you see the notifications.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like, oh, the hit is right. It's palpable.
Right.
So
it's no different than any other form of
narcotic.
Yes. The longer you're away from it, the quicker it punches you again. So I'm going to make one daily mass a week, one weekday mass a week. That's my Lenten commitment.
I've got a list. Some of the things I'm not going to talk about because I feel like it's less of a. I'm talking about the social media to hold myself accountable. Because like that's one of those where I need to be vocal about, hey, I'm not on social media during Lent because I want to hold myself accountable. So if you see me posting on social media during Lent, you need to be like, yo, bro, thought you were not doing that. But like some of the other stuff, sometimes I do I do positive things. So like, you know.
Who are you texting with?
People. I text with all sorts of people this is a producer from Court TV. This is one of our Mercy friends. I mean, Brian Haldane's right there. I mean, Stuart's right there. I mean, what?
I'm just saying, if you're getting rid of social media, you're getting the dopamine. You're getting the dopamine buzz.
I'm not getting the
dopamine buzz, literally, because it's on vibrate.
No. So with the phones, not bringing the phones into certain places.
I'm doing that the phone is going to go away a lot for Lent.
That would be nice. Because
right?
Be nice? These things are amazing until they're not amazing.
Right.
You know.
And the watch has got to go too. It's not because the watch is connected to the phone. I'm not looking to skirt my own rule here. But yeah, the phone's going to go away a lot because it has gotten bad for me. I've noticed. Have you seen Conclave yet?
I have not. In fact, Father Graham
Don't
said
bother.
I was told not to watch it.
Don't bother. So it's boring until they just drop this hammer on you. And the hammer is so stupid. It's not. I know
aliens? Illuminati?
No. It would be a huge spoiler for me to say it. I mean, like a ginormous spoiler for me to say it. But and you end up not even knowing really how it plays out. But anyway, there's all this perceived tension with nothing really happening the whole time. And the moral of the story is we all have our secrets.
Yeah. That was kind of like
have you seen it?
No.
Conclave? Okay.
But I've watched I just finished Midnight Mass last night.
When was Midnight Mass?
Oh, that's good.
You saw it?
Yeah. So Midnight Mass, the principle is
speaking of secrets.
Without spoiling the plot.
Right. That's why
it's a horror movie and it has an interesting spin on faith and immortality, but I don't want to.
Okay.
Right. But it was really good. I just finished it last night. My brother's been telling me about it for years, and I just finished it last night. So good.
We need a good Catholic movie. We're overdue. I mean, they got to get to work on the Shroud. The Shroud is a book about what would happen if you took the DNA from the Shroud of Turin to make a man.
That would be that's a mind trip.
Yeah. So because it wouldn't spoil it because you'll know it from as soon as they have a trailer. If you have the DNA of Jesus Christ without a soul, you basically have the Antichrist.
Right. Yeah.
Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, Deacon Grant does.
Oh, he goes heavy.
I mean, it's now
goes
if
heavy.
you want the world to know.
One quick second. All right. Definitely windy to start off the morning. Definitely cooler to start off the morning. How's that going to play moving forward? Here's Emma Cade Cowan. Yeah, if you want people to know, hit up Deacon Grant. Interesting.
But I can't respond.
.637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served. All right, let's get to some legal matters here. Oh, by the way, we will be touching on last night's non-State of the Union address, the address to the joint session of Congress. That's going to be coming up a little bit next hour. For the most part, we have ABC News at the top and the bottom of the hour, so they are covering that as well. But we'll have a little bit for you on our next hour as well. All right, Franz, let's dive in. Police said Monday a man was accused of 5 felonies after stealing a cart full of groceries from the Rouse's Market on Drusilla Lane during the weekend. 34-year-old Brandon Guidry is accused of simple robbery, attempted simple robbery, theft by shoplifting, and aggravated flight from an officer. All felonies. He's also accused of 4 traffic violations. After his arrest, Officer Zachary Evans said Guidry complained about being charged with 5 felonies while he was, quote, only stealing from one store. All right. Is this as open as shut as you just said you were stealing?
So his defense will be, man, this is a misdemeanor. Felonies, misdemeanor. The problem is oftentimes those accused of crimes don't understand the subtle nuances of their actions being aggregate and becoming multiple counts. So the stealing in and of itself is not a felony, depending on what he stole. The robbery is the hitting the person, use of force to take a thing of value.
Yeah.
In the parking lot. Right? So that is a felony.
Yeah.
And then doesn't he hit the second person to get away with it too?
Yep.
So that's a second felony.
Yeah.
The aggravated flight, that's a felony. I mean,
everything this guy did is a comedy of errors. Like, this should be a comedy.
That's what I thought was interesting, though, is you're driving a BMW and you're shoplifting from Rouse's.
Right.
Like, that just, to me, intrigues
I mean,
me.
if you're driving a BMW, you're not going to shoplift from Shoppers Value.
You're not.
You're not
hitting my store,
end.
the Dollar General.
Right.
I love me some Dollar General. You're hitting Rouse's.
Right.
Is Drusilla the bougie Rouse's?
Florida
Boulevard's not the bougie Rouse's. It kind of is. I like it.
Mm.
Point is, my friend is looking at multiple counts.
Right.
And when your best defense is, wait a minute, how did I get charged with 5 of these? That's not good, because the inference is what? That I'm guilty of at least one.
Yes. If you say how did I get charged with 5, you're saying you did 1. That's pretty much it. And yet, no, he didn't hit a second person. He hit the same person a second time, if I'm reading the story right. He says the story from WBRZ says the store's manager said he followed Guidry into the parking lot Saturday morning and tried to take the groceries back, but the Guidry punched him. The manager then took a photo of Guidry near Guidry's black BMW and said he had all he needed after memorizing the car's license plate number. Guidry punched him again and stole his phone. The punching is part of the robbery charge. Why wouldn't the assault not be a separate charge?
Well, I mean, it can be, but the hitting someone is a simple battery unless they were injured to a certain degree. So you got a misdemeanor simple battery. The better charge is the taking of a thing of value through force or intimidation, which is the punching and taking the phone.
Yeah.
Or the punching and taking. And here's where it gets interesting. The punching and taking a phone is a robbery.
Yeah.
The punching to get away with the taking of the groceries makes the misdemeanor shoplifting into a felony.
Right.
So that's 2 counts.
Mhm.
Right. And then he hits the other person. So that's another count. Right. Because he's hitting another person to get away using force on that person.
It was the same person.
No, I thought a second person came outside. Point is.
Oh, you're right. Further on in the story. Okay.
See, I prep for these things.
No.
I read the stories.
While Guidry tried to cover up his license plate with a shirt, another Rouse's employee went into the parking lot, and she too was punched.
It's not funny, but we're laughing because it's so stupid.
No, because everything that happens from there is funny, Franz. A license plate reader on North Ardenwood Drive, which there's another Rouse's right there in North Ardenwood in Florida. Anyway, a license plate reader on North Ardenwood Drive alerted police to the car, and officers tracked it to a Dollar General on Greenwell Springs. Guidry sped away, eventually getting stuck in a mulch pile along
I didn't understand what that meant. Getting stuck in a mulch pile.
He got stuck in a mulch pile. There's not a whole lot of 4-wheel drive on the BMW there. Guidry wouldn't say where the manager's phone was, but officers did recover several packs of hot dogs and other groceries. So...
Hot dogs.
A hot dog.
What kind of hot dogs do you think this dude shoplifted?
Okay, if you're not going Nathan's on the shoplifting, then you're wasting everyone's time.
If you're gonna commit a robbery to get a hot dog, you better be going good hot dog.
If you're going bar S on the hot dog, no. If you're stealing it, go Nathan's. You gotta go. It's gotta be all beef, kosher. It's gotta, go with a high end hot dog for sure. What else do you think they caught? Because he had a basket full.
So this guy's got issues.
Uh-huh.
So oftentimes people will steal. Well, first of all, people steal to steal. That's number one. Number two, oftentimes people will steal from grocery stores because food items can be traded for drugs. Sometimes or cash to buy drugs, or they just steal food because they wanted a hot dog. All those reasons, right? The reason I emphasize the BMW is my boy's not getting ribeyes.
Well, okay. Now, to be fair, we don't know year. For example, I drive a Mercedes, but it's 18 years old.
The Mercedes.
Mercedes.
The Mercedes. I've heard you refer to it as the Mercedes.
Actually, there's only one in the driveway.
Yeah.
My
point is, you make a good point. If the Beamer is like a 1985 Beamer,
right,
with paint issues and a little bit of mileage on it,
he's got that ceiling liner hitting him on the forehead.
But it's like it raises questions, right? If he were driving a Corolla and committing shoplifting, you might be like, okay, well that tracks more.
Yeah.
My boy keeps it real though. My guy keeps it real. Covers the license plate with a shirt.
The manager of the store says, "I have all I need." When he takes the takes the picture and then gets the license plate number, he takes the phone from him and says, "Now you got nothing."
This is not funny.
It is hilarious.
And we're not. I feel comfortable saying this. We're not laughing at the harm caused by the victims. We're laughing at the fact that this dude may actually be looking at
real time.
Yeah,
real time.
Well, and here's the kicker: misdemeanor theft, shoplifting, hot dogs, 0 to 6 months. You can ask Hillar. 0 to 6 months. Robbery, simple robbery, 0 to 7 years.
Yeah. And when you add everything else onto it, when you add all the rest of the charges to it.
This begs the question. Do we need to put this guy in jail?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. And for a very simple reason. To so brazenly say that the law doesn't apply to you. The laws of society that we all adhere to so brazenly say it doesn't apply to you. That you belong behind bars for a while. Easily. The process with which it's going to take to put him behind bars, though, if you were his attorney, where would you start?
Mitigation. You got a drug problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it's not a whodunnit, right? And this guy is going to want to perpetuate.
You're not going to put up a "those weren't my pants" type of defense.
No, which is one of the worst. These are my cousin's pants. The crack that you found in the pants, those aren't my pants. Those are my cousin's pants. He's going to want to perpetuate. These are misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the prosecutor's going to say, no, buddy, No. When you started harming people, it stopped being just a shoplifting.
Right.
So if the guy's still in jail, and I don't know if he made bond yet, and I don't know what his bond is, he's going to sit for a minute.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether or not it's going to be misdemeanors or not, and by the way, Rouse's gets a voice in this. Rouse's gets to have a say in what they do and don't. The individual that got hit in the face gets a voice in this. So
and so does the second employee as well.
Yeah, that's right.
She gets a say in
you
it
got
too.
Nothing.
Oh, God. We got more to cover when we come back. We got a break coming up. You're good to go till 7?
Yeah.
All right. We got more to cover when we come back. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do legally served at this time every single week. So quick break, check traffic, check your money now. We will continue next on Talk 107.3 FM.
A listener said we are not covering the Southern hazing death.
Do you want to?
It's up to you. I don't represent any of those guys yet. Yeah.
So the investigation is so early that I wasn't going to.
Okay, we can wait.
I mean, do we want to? We can
wait.
do that one next week.
That story is not going anywhere.
Yeah. But I don't want to seem like I'm avoiding it.
That's why important. Just don't follow the perpetrator outside.
Yeah. No, absolutely do. Because if they don't follow them outside, we don't get this story.
Right. Well, I get it. But I mean, working like part-time retail, that's like the number one thing. Do not go past these doors. Like they go outside, just let them be. But see if you can get a license plate, but just don't engage. And that sucks because they know they can get away with it. Every single time.
And that Rouse is not built to prevent shoplifting.
The Drusilla one?
Yeah.
Are you going to that meeting today?
I have to.
You do. Who's our speaker today?
Nancy Landry.
Who's Nancy Landry?
She's our Secretary of State.
Huh.
Yeah.
If you polled 100 people, I doubt that a majority would know who our Secretary of State is. I know who Representative Al Green is. That cane. Did you see the cane? I don't know if he needed the cane or not to walk, but I kind of like the cane.
Last time I saw that cane was the episode of Seinfeld where Kramer was a pimp. All right. Hey, Scott McKnight's in. What's happening, Scott?
My boy's in Italy.
Really?
Yep.
Scott knows where it's at. All right. Mrs. Judy's Mercedes is the Mercedes.
The Mercedes.
The Mercedes. He says, let's talk about what Franz can't talk about. Nope. Not going to do that.
So here's at what level does your car need to be the Beamer, the Mercedes, the Rolls? Like you can't get away with that.
It can't be more than a decade old.
The Xterra doesn't work, right?
If it's more than a decade old, it's got to be vintage and known for something. Like if I had,
this is the Volvo station wagon I lost my virginity in. The Volvo. What?
If I had
no.
No. I do. I do. I had a live read, and I can't edit I don't have playlist editor. There were two extra. There was Cade shortens that break. Byron says Zulu and Rex were great, and I stayed at a central lockup. That's awesome, man. Al Green's behavior was sophomoric. His behavior was staged. Al drew the short straw. I felt like that whole thing was staged from both sides. It felt like when he got up, like it was both sides knew that someone was getting thrown out. And then when Al Green got up with his cane, all right. 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Served. Let's flip topics real quick and head to the other side of the river if we could. Franz, have you been following this story about Port Allen police and pepper spray in a crowd? And, yeah. So per WBRZ,
you got to set the stage though.
I am. After an officer reportedly sprayed pepper spray into a crowd of people at an event on February 15th, the police department issued a statement Friday saying the actions taken were part of proper protocol. At the West Side All Black Affair, an attendee told WBRZ there was, quote, mass chaos and confusion when one of the Port Allen police officers sprayed pepper spray into the crowd. After the party continues to go on, the lights were off, the music was playing. The next thing you know, you smelled and see mace. Everybody's coughing, throwing up. There's mass chaos and confusion, Daniel Phillips said. Port Allen Police Department issued a statement last Friday saying the following incidents happened prior and after officers ended the event. In excess of 6 total altercations, vocalized threats of violence at the event, reports of physical assaults on female patrons, unsafe use of facility by standing on chairs during the event, and illegal smoking inside the parish facility, the statement listed. So officers said all those incidents led to a safety concern for the patrons and the security detail officers. How do we break this down?
So the question becomes, is it a civil rights violation? Did they violate the rights by using excessive force, or was the force in these circumstances necessary such that they were doing their job, and to do their job, they had to do what they did?
Okay.
That is the analysis.
Right. Now, how do you get inside of that to know the difference between, like, were there prior warnings or did they just start spraying?
Again, you have to interview witnesses, and then the reality is, as you know, is there are people that probably were having fun that never heard a warning.
Right.
There are people that were having fun that never encountered the police. There are people that were having fun that were warned. They may have made a blasted audio like, hey guys, y'all need to tone this down. I don't know. The pepper spray is kind of an extreme. I mean, it's not lethal.
Right.
But I mean, if you've ever been pepper sprayed before on a Friday night, it's not great.
Right.
Law enforcement officers, I believe, get pepper sprayed as a part of their training.
Okay.
Same as the tasing. They get, as a part of the tasing training, you get tased. So, I mean, at the end of the day,
you ever been tased?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm contemplating.
It's 2025.
It's been talked about before.
Under what circumstances would you get tased?
The BRPD puts on the Citizens Academy,
and you want to be the citizen.
I would like to sign up for the academy. I don't know if I would want, that you don't have to do that part of it, but I've been told it's worth the experience so that you understand the experience.
This is like that scene from Hangover.
In the face.
So your injuries as a whole, I mean, somebody could have had optical issues or respiratory issues, to be sure. But I mean, again, it's going to come down to if the police say, and I believe, having read this, I read the articles, he was following procedure,
right?
Our policies. If the police say that, then he might have qualified immunity.
Okay.
Okay. So if they sue, qualified immunity is a bar to recovering money on civil rights cases because what they essentially say is, hey, this is the trade-off. We want you to be able to do your job as a police officer, and
you're going right where I wanted you to go for this one, because the follow-up question is, does that kick up the chain to be able to say, okay, officer followed policy, he's cool. It's the policy that in and of itself is a civil rights violation.
Well, let's not mince words. You're going to sue the policing agency, which is insured because they have the deep pocket. You're going to claim, oh, that's your policy. Well, you have a really crappy policy. And my citizen, my client, is entitled not to be subject to pepper spray because you have a crappy policy. And you need to change her. Because, by the way, sometimes we sue people. I mean, it's about the money, but we sue people to change policy and to make positive change.
One would think that would be the way it should go.
Right.
But we sue people to get money.
Well, it's the problem is in the civil arena, that's the only thing you get.
Right. But
you don't put the cop in jail in the civil arena for pepper spraying.
Right.
That's it. All you get is money. And sometimes you can get change because the change comes from what? You're liable because your policy stinks.
Right.
We need to change our policy so that this doesn't happen again, either the event or the lawsuit.
Well, and this is the argument that we boil down to so often, Franz, is that money should not equal justice. It's a serious problem with our society that money equals justice, because you have that's where we get jackpot justice from. That's why you see all the billboards up and down the road that say, get a check.
So I hope, as a listener, as a host to a show, I hope you at least acknowledge that if you were to sue over the pepper spraying incident, that's slightly different than crash cash. Right? There is a straight-faced argument for, hey guys, this was too much.
No. So, but fast forward to the part where everybody who's in that crowd, everybody who was part of that event, gets to turn, whether they caught the pepper spray directly or not, gets to turn around and say, I'm gonna get mine.
Well, if they were
pepper
sprayed, they are entitled, and you don't disqualify them because there's a bunch of people that were harmed. If they were in fact harmed. I'm not saying these guys have, I wouldn't take this civil rights suit. I think that the officer has a straight-faced argument for, what am I supposed to do? Right? At what point is the mob crowd harming people, the office? Because it's not just officer safety, it's also people safety too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
well, because the following incidents happened prior and after officers ended the event. In excess of 6 total altercations happened along the way. If you've got 6 fights breaking out, you shut the thing down. And if you can't shut it down,
I have not gone
verbal orders.
I have not gone partying across the river, but maybe I need to start going partying across the river.
Not unless you want to get pepper sprayed.
I mean,
part of the protocol.
I mean, I'm dead inside, so I mean, that really hurts. I imagine it really hurts to get pepper sprayed because it's not just the eyes; it's respiratory, right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But they're gonna be okay. They're gonna live.
He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do legally served at this time every single week. Always appreciate the time, brother.
All right, guys.
We got ABC News coming up. Then we'll check traffic. We'll check weather. Hour 2's on the way next. Is there any way that I can phrase it? Hey, kill the mics.
Looks like lower curse A's. I mean, it's like the guys like all over the place. And I'm going to try not to do it today. I do whatever you like. Dude, you got, oh, that's right. See, what I like about Catholics during Lent, they don't eat a steak on Friday, but he's banging the secretary in the Port Allen Hotel that night before. But he didn't eat a steak on Friday.
What doesn't undo the other one, Rich?
Stupidest thing I ever heard. Look, here's a guy with a CEO at the office. He's watching porn and he's snorting coke. But guess what? Tomorrow he's eating baked fish. Yeah. That's stupid. If I was Pope, I'm going over. Change his oven. Enjoy yourself. Do something nice for somebody. We're good. Next. Oh, you Pope, you guys.
One doesn't undo the other one, Rich. You're supposed to abstain from meat and not bang your secretary.
Hey, Jesus, God, I don't know whoever's home. Look. There goes Franz.
Condon with the heat this morning.
Franz, your Democrats last night really pissed me off. I'm a Republican. Are you really?
I am. He is a
Oh,
Republican.
hell, I like him, man.
Tell him what I said last week on the air.
I don't-
trouble about.
I don't remember what you said 5
About
minutes
the-
ago.
about- you asked me last week, Franz, you say the Democrats don't believe in God.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You said, well, don't they not believe in God?
Yep. He did say that.
Franz, I apologize.
Oh man.
It took everything in me not to to mess with Franz about having a bald head this morning because it's Ash Wednesday.
Right.
So when you go up in line for your ashes, does the priest look at you as like an open canvas?
Oh,
Like I can start way up here.
Oh, that would be
Put
humiliating
the
and
cross-
humble. Like
Put
if
the
someone,
cross
if he
on
started
to be
like at
seen
the-
from space.
Oh man. Oh. Goodness. 'Oh, Renee, it's a series. It's only 7 episodes. It's on Netflix. Midnight Mass.
But it's horror.
Uh-huh.
I'm not down.
It's some vampires. But really, man, it's so good.
Galen says my Facebook audience would be huge if I got tased on my show.
I mean, of course it would. The viewership would be
We'd have to do this somewhere separate where I can like fall on a mattress and not hit my head on that cabinet.
right.
I'm not against getting tased. I do have a history of heart condition in my family.
Oof.
Probably
That'll be what takes you out.
yeah. $705 talk. 70. Give me a sec.
He's getting it.
Yeah,
He's getting it.
705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are starting off your second hour at 54 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Coming up this hour, we got Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company on the hotline in our next segment. Gonna be talking with Walt about Mardi Gras. Did we have, and I apologize for the pun because of yesterday's weather, but did we have the perfect storm for a perfect Mardi Gras this year? It was a late Mardi Gras date, allowing folks more time to book their travel, and you had the Super Bowl in front of it, which is basically a commercial for New Orleans on repeat for more than a week. How'd things play out? Did we see dividends on Mardi Gras because of the Super Bowl? We'll talk with Walt in our next segment. Also this hour, State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Cade Brumley, slated to join us at 7:35. We got a lot on tap for that segment as well. But first, we got to get you to top stories and trending.
Number 5.
City officials will be updating traffic signals throughout the parish this week, which might cause delays for your morning commute. Officials said mechanics will be working on multiple signals firmware at a time, and the updates should take no long. They'll be working multiple signals at a time, and they should take no longer than 10 minutes for each. The lights will be in flash mode while the teams are at work. We got Fred Raiford coming on at 8:15 to talk about this. While we have Fred on, we'll probably talk to him about our next story as well.
Number 4.
Storm damage, such as trees falling on houses and blocking roads, was reported across the capital area yesterday. At one point, more than 10,000 people were without power. Stepping outside of East Baton Rouge Parish, possible tornado damage was reported in Darrow and Gramercy. St. James Parish Sheriff's Office says there was a possible tornado touchdown behind Taylor's Express on Highway 3125. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office said 5 homes were reportedly damaged from a tornado as well.
Number 3.
Southern University junior Caleb Wilson's death is now being investigated as hazing related, according to our news partners at WBRZ. Their investigative unit learned yesterday, or was told yesterday by a source close to the investigation, that the human jukebox trumpet player was punched in the chest before collapsing, potentially while being hazed. Several other pledges were subjected to the same activity.
Number 2.
Police said Monday 34-year-old Brandon Guidry was accused of 5 felonies after stealing a cart full of groceries from the Rouse's Market on Drusilla Lane during the weekend. After his arrest, Officer Zachary Evans said Guidry complained about being charged with 5 felonies while he was, quote, only stealing from one store.
Number 1.
On Tuesday evening, chaos erupted during a Mardi Gras celebration in Mamou that resulted in a fatal shooting. The incident happened as Chris Ardwan was performing for the Mardi Gras Zydeco concert. This, by the way, was just one day after another shooting in Mamou that left 3 people injured. What's trending there, John?
Well, President Trump's tariffs against products and materials from Mexico, Canada, and China went into effect yesterday.
Man, it's going to be difficult to just let this thing play out in real time because the effects of tariffs go up and down.
Ebbs and flows.
We will see the cost of goods go up a little bit, but there could be potential benefit for the overall economy. If you read up on this throughout America's history, we had tariffs in the early 20s that gave us the Roaring 20s, but we also had the Great Depression at the end of the 20s. It's what now to narrow down overall economic behavior on one policy item is foolish. It's because so many other things factor in to something like a Great Depression happening. So at the same time, though, it's hard not to when you have such big, and what was it? What was the president's? I tell you what, it's hard not to when you have quotes like this from last night's State of the Union or the non-State of the Union. You have Trump too queued up.
Let's see. Yeah, I believe I got some Trump cuts here. You ready for them?
Yeah, Trump too.
All right, let's see what we got. Sorry, in real time here. Coming your way.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
So it's hard not to say that the actions of the president, can give full credit or full blame for what's going to come when he uses terms like swift and unrelenting. You're on the clock now, boss. This is your economy moving forward.
Yes.
Yep.
And speaking of last night, Congressman Al Green got himself kicked out of the president's address to the joint session of Congress. Yeah.
All right. I made the Al Green joke last hour, how, he seemed very angry for the guy that sang Love and Happiness.
Right.
But if I could be real for just a second, did that entire thing feel staged? Let me know over on Facebook Live. We're always live on Facebook during the show. Did that thing feel staged from start to finish?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you mentioned that because sometimes, you watch these things and you think, am I the only one who thinks this is
Mike
a little
Johnson
bit of a
reached
setup?
for his microphone before Al Green even stood up. It's like Mike Johnson knew it was coming. Al Green knew what was going to happen. He was quick to gather his things and go. Like that whole thing felt like, and I know it sounds all conspiratorial. Like,
I know, right?
They're all in cahoots together against the people. But everything about that felt like it. Like, did I miss rehearsal because they were there?
Yeah, and that's why I think I don't think it's just us. I think a lot of people feel this way, and that's why I'm glad you addressed it, because in certain situations you think, you wonder, and then you wonder, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, and that's where I'm at. I'm at the end that does not want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But there's so many people talking about it last night.
Indeed. Hey, speaking of last night, yesterday, to be bad weather or not, Mardi Gras rolled on. So
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Mardi Gras rolled on
There's no stopping
everywhere. You had Rex and Zulu down in New Orleans. Now, I say everywhere. It didn't roll on in Jefferson Parish. They canceled August, which in hindsight, they really didn't have to. They could have rolled August yesterday. Not that anybody cares. But
they erred on the side of caution.
The side of caution. Yeah. But the thing is, when you have that many people in town, it's tough to balance that equation to say, you came here to see this. You came here to see Rex turn on a canal, which they hit a different route. I don't know if they cut that out of the route yesterday, but this is what you came for. And you paid all this money, and it's completely unrefundable because you can't make up Mardi Gras Day. You can't go back and, we'll do Mardi Gras on Thursday. Like when people try to read for Halloween. Oh, we're going to do trick-or-treating on Saturday, even though Halloween's on Monday. No, Halloween's on Halloween. You trick-or-treat on Halloween. But whether you're talking about New Orleans, whether you're talking about Mamou, whether you're talking about Irwinville, who added a parade that they haven't had in a decade, it all in, thumbs up on the report card. No, yeah. Well, I don't think they lost any money because everything got in. And I don't think anybody left early when the weather report came in. And the weather moved so fast. Yeah. It's like, okay, find shelter for an hour and then go right back out again until they send the horses up Bourbon.
Party on.
Yep. We're almost to 7:14 to talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we got Walt Leger up next. That's him. Byron says, I've been in NOLA since Sunday. Anecdotally, the crowds seem much smaller than they have in previous years. See, and the videos that I've seen on social media have been nothing but packed. .718 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. That one's gonna be on the playlist when I hit the treadmill later on. And burning off the Mardi Gras calories, you got to have a little dead mouse in the mix right there. We speaking of burning off the Mardi Gras calories, we need to check in and see how Mardi Gras did. We've got on the hotline right now from New Orleans and Company, Walt Leger. Walt, how are you, man?
I'm spectacular. My voice is a little gravelly, but it's a beautiful morning, and it's great to be with you again.
I'm always glad to have you back on. So, looking at the math, looking at the equation that was set up for New Orleans this year, it looked like it was, pardon the pun for the weather yesterday, but it looked like it was the perfect storm to have a great Mardi Gras. We had a late Mardi Gras day. We had the Super Bowl providing infinite amounts of PR and advertising. How did things stack up as far as the crowds, how the hotel reservations, the flights into Armstrong, all of it?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. When Mardi Gras is a little later, it gives people longer time to plan their trips, and it looks like they did just that this year. We certainly performed better than we did last year with preliminary numbers not even really in yet. Our surveys of hotels and restaurants across the community showed that they were busier this year than last by a few percentage points. So last year was a great Mardi Gras. This year was an even better one. And I think between, Taylor Swift and then Super Bowl and a later Mardi Gras, it really wasn't an awesome opportunity for the city to continue to keep the positive momentum going for the region and the state as well.
How long does it take to count receipts on this?
They start to come in later this week, some of the actual hotel data, and those are the most reliable sources of information. So much of the rest is proprietary information or run by private businesses that you've got to kind of get it by survey. But with the hotel community, there is an official tracking mechanism, and we do start to get that data in. But from an occupancy standpoint, it was, for example, last year we were about 83% for Saturday and Endymion night. Mm-hmm. This year it looked like we were almost at 95%. So it was a big bump up on Saturday, Sunday. I think a lot of excitement with Endymion getting back into the Superdome, Katy Perry performing there.
Yeah.
That was a really sensational event. And, it was just a lot of fun. It was great weather and a great weekend.
Walking us all the way up to yesterday, does the actual rolling of Rex and Zulu have any major economic impact one way or the other when you run into weather problems like this?
It's symbolically the culmination of the Mardi Gras season and a huge celebration where we get to celebrate Zulu
mm-hmm.
and Rex, two of the most important organizations. I think I think it does tend to be an event for local and regional visitors, much more so than those who would travel in nationally and internationally.
Yeah.
But it's really it's an important thing, and I think the city and the mayor and the police chief deserve hats off for working with the law enforcement community and with Zulu and Rex and putting on a great show despite the potential for dangerous weather. And they really delivered on that for the folks out there. And where I was, the parade route was packed. So, I think people really got out and enjoyed it. A little different, but it was a great demonstration of how we just pivot when things get a little challenging. And and continue to put on a world-class event.
I like the chief of police telling everybody to potty before they leave the house.
Love it.
Could not have been.
I was like, I've been hearing that my whole life. It doesn't mean anybody listened, but I'm glad that she did it. She's been doing a phenomenal job for us, and I want to also tip my cap to state police, who are just extraordinary every day of the year, but who did a spectacular job assisting and partnering with NOPD. And then, of course, having some federal resources never hurts. And this year, the event was designated as a Tier 1 level event for the first time. I think that also presented an opportunity for more resources and for a safer experience for people.
We got Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company with us, talking about the recap of Mardi Gras. Actually, if we could stop recapping and look forward real quick. All eyes have been from Taylor Swift through yesterday. All eyes have been on that window, Walt, of Taylor Swift through yesterday. How do we maximize momentum moving forward?
Well, we're going to roll right into some sensational events in the spring, and I hope that people will continue to come in and be a part of it, especially from around our state. Hogs for the Cause, which is a major fundraising effort for pediatric brain cancer, and an unbelievably fun barbecue competition is coming up April 4th and 5th out at UNO Lakefront Arena. You got French Quarter Fest, you got Jazz Fest, of course, people know about those. And they're going to be amazing events again this year. That's not to mention the conventions and the conferences and everything else that's coming along. So we're just going to keep hosting. We had a lot of international media in. We had the Today Show in. They produced on Friday morning a really cool show promoting New Orleans. So a lot of this is going to be continuing to work with media to get the message out about how special our community is. And just, as you said, keep the momentum going, because these big events, these iconic events, they set the table for future success, and we're going to be working to maximize that.
How do we work, or how do we evaluate just the ROI of the individual social media here? I can tell you over the weekend, scrolling through TikTok, I couldn't get 4 videos into TikTok without hitting another live that was on the parade route. And I know the algorithm's going to trend to me because I'm in Louisiana, but there were so many people just by themselves going live on the parade route. Is there any way to capture what the ROI of the individual traveler is?
It's really difficult to do. We're still trying to put a number on the Super Bowl and the impact of that, especially because of that social media impact and the viral nature of some of the videos. But we know that it's impossible to spend enough money to buy that kind of exposure.
Right.
And so you take every little bit that you can get. I think data is showing more and more that people are influenced by those sorts of posts as much as they are by a commercial or some other kind of advertisement. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the same thing with people being influenced more by journalists and media that are doing stories. And so a lot of brands are, of course, doubling down on those social media impacts. And when you're not paying for them and you're receiving them as an added benefit, it just creates a great reach for a community, and especially the vibrancy of these, right? I mean, the music and the colors and the beautiful art that's being created by the float, creators and decorators. I think people get to see that there isn't any other place like it. And the more that we can help people see that, the more attracted to our community they're going to be, which is going to create all kind of opportunities for us to bring in different events, but also hopefully the opportunity to attract investors who want to have a high quality of life, live in a special place, and build businesses as well, which will create more opportunity for people throughout the region and the state to be able to thrive economically as well. So I think it's very, very difficult to put a price on it, but it's priceless.
Can we get a little bit further in the weeds on that transferring tourism into economic development? Because we saw the big pavilion that was set up next to the convention center for the Super Bowl. How do you make that transition? How do you pivot that conversation to say, it's great that you visited, now think about relocating?
It's a big part of what we've been working on from a marketing and promotion standpoint on our corporate meetings, conventions, conferences. People know about the vibrancy of the culture, and we continue to push that and elevate it. But we talk about being built to host because we're trying to ensure that people understand that we have an excellence with which we deliver on these big events. And anybody who knows anything about Mardi Gras or a Super Bowl or a Taylor Swift concert knows that these things don't just happen. You need people who are incredibly skilled and talented that work really hard to execute on every precise detail. And we're doubling down on that messaging so people understand you're going to have an incredible event or an experience in our community because people here are excellent at delivering on that. And that translates into other things as well. The second part of that is, as you bring in associations, conferences, and meetings, you're bringing in lots of C-suite level decision makers who have an opportunity to make the next decision in their company about where investments are going to be made, expansions are going to be made, or where they should be doing business. And it's partially why we advocate that we've got to be able to put our best foot forward every single day. It can't just be for the major events. And so why we work closely with the city and the state on ensuring that the resources are there for the appropriate infrastructure, for the appropriate investments in public safety and all the other things that go along with it. Because when you build a community that is a great place to live and work in, then you also make it an incredible place for people to want to visit and invest. And the things do go hand in hand. So you've got to be on your A game every single day, and you have to be consistent about it. Mm-hmm. And you have to continue to bring in these events that create the opportunity for people to see that there is a deeper side to our community that's not just a celebration every day, but it's also about excellence and how we deliver on our promises. And I think those are key components, but mostly consistency of effort, recognizing that you've got these people in front of you and that you've got to deliver the right experience for them that makes them want to learn more or want to invest more.
We got about 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes to go with Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. I got to ask you about the garbage. Growing up, they always said that the Mardi Gras success was measured by the garbage, but y'all have taken some great steps to create a more sustainable Mardi Gras, reducing waste. What were the impacts there? How did that play out?
Yeah, this is one of the things I'm really proud of our team. We've created this program called Recycle Dat with a lot of partners, including the city. And it's worked out incredibly well. We're still measuring, but last year, 145,000 cans recycled, 4,200 pounds of glass, over 13,000 pounds of beads and throws. And this year, I think we're going to blow those numbers away because we had bars, restaurants, hotels, the convention center, the Superdome, so many partners across the community who set up these recycling locations. So instead of just dumping your beads on the ground, you could dump them into a recycling bin. Instead of just dropping cans and bottles, you could put them in recycling bins. We're working with Glass Half Full, the Osprey Initiative. Coca-Cola got on board this year. We're really excited about this. It's important. We don't want to be creating unnecessary waste in the landfills. We want to be sustainable, and our guests expect that, especially our international visitors. So really proud of the team for continuing to grow this, and for all these partners. We're going to keep working at it, and that way we'll be measuring our success and how much we divert as opposed to how much we put into a landfill.
He is Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. I always appreciate the time. And tell Mark he crushed it at the Rex Ball last night. We were watching in the Howden House as we do to close our Mardi Gras every year.
Will do. I know he'll be happy to hear it. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon, Walt. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. Here's news. Should be on the phone, I believe. Torrent nobody texted me, so Torrent nobody here. We get Walt back on, or Mark, one of the two, for once Hogs for the Cause gets here, and then French Quarter Fest is the next week, and then 2 weeks later is Jazz Fest, and then 4th of July weekend is Essence Fest. Like the way the calendars keep rolling.
Yeah.
I would like to find out if they're going to add something in like first weekend of June to make sure that there's never a month where you're not on the calendar. But the first weekend of June, it's hot as balls. Essence Fest is hot as balls, but like they took advantage of the fact that it's a 3-day weekend for everybody anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You throw out the LRN cuts at the end of this hour.
Okay.
We're going to go to Trump cuts instead. And I'm going to start with number 1.
Sounds good.
We're probably just going to talk tariffs. So it's going to be 1, 3, and 4. There he is. Oh. Apropos that this promo would run right before he's on. Thank you, random rotator. Time to get a look at your forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Cade Cowan. .738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to get a closer look at what's going on in our schools. For that, we turn to our superintendent of education, Dr. Cade Brumley. Dr. Brumley, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
Hey, Brian. Beautiful morning today, right?
Everybody keeps telling me that. I haven't been outside since before dawn, so it was super windy on my way into work this morning.
Man, it's so nice. It's so nice. So, yeah, what's up? Let's talk about education in the state of Louisiana.
Let's do that.
The fastest improving state in the country.
So, how do you stay on that, though? Like, we've got the momentum going, but now it's like you're going to be turned to for more momentum. Whereas, when you start moving up the charts, you're going to see diminishing returns. That doesn't mean that less is being done. It's just less is visible.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a work worth doing, and I think that if we just focus on making sure that every kid has access to a teacher and providing high quality resources, and kids who need a little extra help getting it for them, making sure parents are in charge, we'll be in good shape. We'll keep moving. That's what we intend to do.
We're talking with Dr. Cade Brumley. He's our state superintendent of education, about a couple of different items that are kind of top of mind right now. We got to talk about trickle-down effects of items on a national scale, if we could, Dr. Brumley. Let's start off with Linda McMahon's confirmation as U.S. Secretary of Education. What does it mean for education in Louisiana?
Yeah, well, number one, I know Linda McMahon. I like Linda McMahon. I think she's going to do a good job. She obviously is a former executive with the Wrestling Foundation Federation, and she's going to suplex the competition. But listen, the thing here is she's been given a directive to work to ultimately dismantle the Department of Education. I think we'll hear more about that very soon. But in conversations that I've had with the administration and with Linda McMahon, it's things that I think most of us would believe in, such as state sovereignty, empowering parents, returning to basics, and pursuing academic excellence. So we look forward to working with her. And I think that, people in Louisiana are well positioned to make decisions relative to education. And, we got to trust moms and dads and teachers and policymakers here to make good decisions. And I think that's what the Trump administration is going to do by putting more emphasis on states and less from individuals up in D.C.
Well, and this is what you've been doing on the state level, is to trust the teachers, trust the districts. Would there be any reason to believe that it would look different when you talk about it on a national level instead?
Well, I mean, if you believe in state sovereignty, that means you've got to believe in the state sovereignty of Louisiana in the same way you do in Oregon, know, and those values and pursuits may not exactly be the same. But if you believe in states' rights, you have to believe in states' rights. And so I think it'll look different from place to place. But I think one of the ways in which the Trump administration has already gone about shaping ed policy is with some of the Dear Colleague letters around things like DEI and not wanting to see DEI pursuits in schools. And that was issued already to K-12 and higher ed across the country.
I'm going to pick up on that one in just a second, because that is an important topic. We're speaking with Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. But to continue on the potential, I think dismantling was the word you used. It is historical. It is monumental. So it's going to bring up, in the same way as when they created the department in 1979, it's going to bring up a lot of pushback and opposition along the way. I know we're too early to start talking about the ins and outs, but how long of a transition would it take to get us back to where states are sovereign and in charge of themselves?
Well, I mean, I think that you can take different functions of the U.S. Department of Education and put them in different places. So, for instance, the U.S. Department of Education, in many ways, is just a large bank. It handles all of the student loans. I mean, we can have a conversation rather the public should be involved in giving student loans, and that should be a function of the private sector. But right now, the public does, provide student loans. Well, that could easily be shifted to Treasury Department. You think about some of the work around data and analytics that could go over to Census. Some of the work around civil rights could go over to Justice. I mean, I could go through a list of functions of the Department of Education and where they might situate those items in other agencies. And then further, they could take funding that they have available and simply block grant that out to states, where states are making decisions on the best way to utilize dollars. So I think if they choose to pursue it, there is a path that is a thoughtful path that does not create chaos, where you can dismantle, defang, reduce the influence of the federal U.S. Department of Education.
We're talking with Dr. Cade Brumley about education in the state of Louisiana. You sent out a letter to school system leaders recently on the Trump administration's guidance on non-discrimination in K-12 schools. When you hear terms like DEI and you hear the DEI departments are being gotten rid of, how do you walk the balance between losing DEI while not adopting discrimination?
Well, look, the Trump administration sent out a letter to states on Valentine's Day. As a matter of fact, Friday, February the 14th, they sent out a letter to states and they said, hey, we view DEI as discrimination. And then that is their interpretation based on, a number of different factors, including the recent Supreme Court case with the Harvard student that was denied access to the university. And, we took that letter and we turned it around and we provided it to school systems across the state. And we just said, hey, look, this is where the Trump administration is. They are interpreting to believe that DEI initiatives should not be taking place in school systems. And further, they have said they are going to vigorously pursue and enforce states and or school systems accepting funds from the federal government if they have these initiatives in place. And so they said, we're giving this 14 days and we're going to come back around and look and see where this is. So I did not want any school system in the state of Louisiana to be caught off guard by this letter that came from the Trump administration. So we have made them aware. And so they need to be checking their practices to make sure that they don't have efforts or endeavors which could be discriminatory in nature based on the Trump administration's interpretation of DEI as discriminatory.
I'm not a numerology guy here, Dr. Brumley, but the letter was put out on February 14th, and you said they were given 14 days to adhere to something that's already protected by the 14th Amendment. So that's a lot of 14s right there.
Yeah. Well, look, we have taken the letter that was provided. We've made sure school systems across the state understand where the administration is. We have clarified, what is at stake. And so I don't think there should be any question in school systems across the state around, this particular issue. And further, I complimented Governor Jeff Landry because he had previously signed an executive order eliminating critical race theory, CRT, in schools throughout Louisiana. So those two things in many ways are related. And so I think there's no question, again, where we are. And there's no question from us to school systems around what they should be pursuing, which is academic excellence, versus what they should not be pursuing, which are interests that aren't related to academic excellence.
Got just a couple of minutes left with Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. Let's pivot from that national stage to something we've been handling here in Louisiana. That's the LA Gator Scholarship Program. Wildly popular right out the blocks. We've surpassed 10,000 student applications. Talk to me a little bit about what it takes to apply and who we're seeing applications from.
So we've been talking about educational scholarship, educational savings accounts for a few years now. And whenever Governor Landry was on the campaign trail, this really was his signature education priority. I heard him speak a few times when he was campaigning for governor, and both times he mentioned this particular initiative. And during the first legislative session where he served as governor, this particular bill passed. Senator Rick Edmonds was involved with authoring that. And so basically what happens with this ESA, this Gator program, as it's been called, is that dollars follow the kid. So if a family is eligible, they can, go on to our website, doe.louisiana.gov, and they can make application. And then starting next school year, a certain amount of accounts will be funded, and families can apply those dollars to private school or tutoring efforts or other educational pursuits. So it's just $1 following the child paradigm. And what we've seen is whenever we launched applications on Saturday morning, we began to accept applications from families on Saturday morning. And I think we're 4 days in right now, roughly, and we've got about 13,000 applications at this point.
I just the response has been overwhelming thus far, and will continue to be as we get a little while before the deadline. I'm looking at the clock, and we're going to run out of time for this morning. But I want to set the table for the next time you're on with us as we get closer to the end of the school year. We're going to need to talk about third grade promotion, as that's something that's going to be under the microscope, to be sure.
Yeah, briefly, I think everyone needs to be aware this is the first group of third graders that this will impact. And so if a third grader does not have some minimum level of reading proficiency, they will not be able to promote to the fourth grade. And so over the course of the year, we've done everything that we can to try to communicate that out to families. And so that will hit this year for the first time.
He is Education Superintendent Dr. Cade Brumley. We always appreciate the time, sir. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. We're coming up on 750 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We got to hit your money now in less than 30 seconds. I do need to remind you, coming up Friday night, and I'm not going to pinpoint an exact time on this because it depends on the games that are on the schedule beforehand, but your home for LSU women's basketball all season long is right here on Talk 107.3 FM. LSU is in the SEC tournament. They will be the last team in the conference to step foot on the court, as they have the late game Friday night opponent still to be determined. But you'll hear Patrick Wright on the call right here on Talk 107.3. Yay. All right. I need to pull up my Rotary Noon News and start rewriting that right now. What? Yeah, I do a newscast for the Rotary meeting every week. It's a little 90 seconds to 2 minutes worth of me up at the podium just reading news like I would on the air, except I add more punchlines. I really need to turn that what I do there into a bit over here, because funny is probably my strongest suit. And I don't get to use it here very much, but it's very much like Weekend Update. So my watch says I have to stand up. I'll be back in 1 minute. play on the next one. The ID will be next, so you're gonna have to skip past all of that. Yeah, very. $7:53, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. John, I tell you, we're having some technical difficulty inside the computer. Can you hit play on does the traffic work? Or is everything not working? Sorry, we're sorting this out in real time.
Sorry, let me just to be transparent with everyone. Let me see something here. Let me just see. Okay, so it's not the stack, so that actually works.
All right, I didn't want to miss a traffic report,
right,
but okay.
Right. But yeah, so far, yeah, nothing in the
Okay.
actual stack. The bumps will play.
All right, so here's what
stack.
we're gonna do. You're gonna have to reboot that.
Yeah.
So we got 4.5 minutes to get it done during this segment. So my apologies, y'all. When a problem pops up as we go into break, that's one thing. When a problem pops up coming out of break, it's a completely different thing. This is Mornings with Brian Haldane on Talk 107.3 FM. We'll have ABC News coming your way. Like I said, 4.5 minutes from right now. While John is working on that, let's kind of reset a little bit. President Donald Trump gave what would otherwise be called the State of the Union, although we learned earlier in the week, we learned on Monday that when it's the president's first year in office, they don't call it the State of the Union. They call it an address to the joint session of Congress. That feels new to me. I just did. And I'm not remembering back to Biden's first year or Trump's first year the first time around. But it is what it is. It's the same speech either way. If you are the incoming president, it's going to be a lot more about the future. If you're a president who's already been there, it's going to be a lot more about a recap of what you've done over the past year. So Donald Trump was speaking to the joint session of Congress last night. If you're looking for analysis on the protests, you're in the wrong spot. If you're looking for analysis on Al Green, you're in the wrong spot. I don't care about any of that because it does not really affect the nation. It speaks to the tenor of where we're at as a nation, and you can get all the analysis on that you want to from Brian Kilmeade, from Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, from Lars Larson, and from any other number of hosts that are out there. But I do want to talk about a couple of different things. Number one is, and get ready cut one to start off with if we could. Donald Trump led off by saying, well, let's let him say it. Cut one.
Citizens, America is back.
America is back. That is going to be a phrase you're going to hear a lot moving forward. As Donald Trump was, I want cut two again. I know I said I was done with it, but I want cut two again. As Donald Trump said, he, hit the ground running from the time he was sworn in. He hit the ground running. In fact, this was the way he phrased it last night.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
Now, a lot of what's going to happen in the near future, especially economically, is going to revolve around tariffs. And Donald Trump, his tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China went into effect officially yesterday. And you're going to see what he called reciprocal tariffs coming up very soon. Cut three, please.
April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth.
The idea of reciprocal tariffs, I actually like. Because if you're going to charge me, I'm going to charge you right back. And if you want to, we can both drop the tariffs and go back to an equal playing field. But it's up to you to drop the tariff, not up to me. Meaning America. And when Donald Trump speaks, that's what he's talking about. He's putting America first. Keeping with that, the president did mention last night that with tariffs, when you have such a monumental shift, when you have such a swift and unrelenting action, as we've seen over the last 6 weeks, it's going to sting for a minute for some folks.
Our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases. And I said, just bear with me. And they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again.
So bear with them for how long? And that's going to be the hardest part about this. And surviving the nature of the 24-hour news cycle is going to be the hardest part, or a very hard part of this as well. Now, I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the mainstream media and what the news cycle looks like. He can ignore it. But for all of us who go about our daily lives, in order for us to have any level of optimism out there, there's going to be a lot that we have to ignore as well. Stay with the numbers, not with the rhetoric. The last time we've seen tariffs like this came about in like the end of the 1800s. William McKinley put in a number of tariffs in the 1890s. I apologize if I get my exact dates wrong. I made B's in history class, not A's. But you had the tariffs in the 1890s, and then you had the Great Depression in 1929. And a lot of folks over the last couple of days have been saying, well, you had the Great Depression because of the tariffs. Well, you also had the Roaring 20s mixed in there as well. Had a hot minute where everything was really, really good. And you can't measure the success or failure of an economy based off of one policy, being tariffs. It takes the overall economy. Now, does today's world look the same as 1890 or 1900 or 1910? It does not. And that's why I say a lot of this is going to be based off of consumer confidence and making sure that you follow the numbers and not the rhetoric, because we are about to be overloaded with negative rhetoric about where we are economically. Here comes news. Do we not have ID?
I'm in talk track. ABC News is gonna roll.
Do what?
But ABC News is gonna roll and everything. So hopefully we're back on before.
It hasn't rebooted yet?
Super slow. Okay. I'm texting Cade and Bo.
All right. Walt Leger and Cade Brumley are both to be featured today.
Okay. There we go. We got something. Let's see. So Cade and Walt. Let's see what we got. Come on.
Hey, what's happening, Todd? Morning, Dave. That'll never not be funny. Old inside joke between me and Todd, or Steve, as I call him. Byron says you had a relatively unregulated stock market in the 20s, not an apple-to-apple comparison to today. 1,000% agree. 1,000% agree. You also didn't have the internet telling you every 5 seconds that the sky is falling. So speaking of apples to apples, those apples falling on the tree that hits Chicken Little. All right.
I'm getting nervous.
Here's your headlines. Don't worry about them until you have that back up and running. Oh man. We're gonna talk red lights this hour, y'all. We're gonna talk red lights. We're gonna talk storm damage, and then we're gonna talk with Hillar Moore. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Yeah, go ahead and hit weather. What do you mean it's out of line? Okay. What's up next on the? Yeah, that's what was supposed to be next. Was at 8:03. Yeah, but
So I should. Yeah.
you should have hit it.
Oh.
Go ahead, hit anyway.
Okay.
Contractually, we're supposed to play that. There you go. And a larger problem was an unregulated banking system which heavily invested in the stock market. Okay, but now you're talking about uh the Glass-Steagall Act is what started regulating the banking market, and was it 1935, 34? I don't remember when Glass-Steagall was. But Glass-Steagall was repealed in 1999. That part I do know. The repeal of Glass-Steagall gave us a lot of the too big to fail that we were looking at about a decade ago.
I already played the weather, so maybe I'll just.
Yeah, just come right to the intro. Would you want to go back to Glass-Steagall? That's as it was put in the newsroom. You could be George Bailey or you could be Gordon Gekko, but you couldn't be both. .808 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Got a busy hour this hour. That story you saw earlier in the week about traffic lights being repaired all week long, which, by the way, shout out to Storm, who sent in the email to let me know that the traffic light Jones Creek at Coursey's out right now. Heads up if you're out that way. But when it comes to getting the traffic lights back up and running, we're going to talk to Fred Raiford in our next segment. I'll also pick his brain a little bit and see what we went through with storm damage yesterday as well. Also this hour, District Attorney Hillar Moore slated to join us at 8:35. Before we get to any of that, though, we're going to get to this day in history in just a minute. I do have to remind you about the folks over at P.F. Chang's. Went by P.F. Chang's last night. Took advantage of, we're down to one kid in the Haldane household. James is playing only child this week because his sisters are out and about. And so we asked James, said, where do you want to go to dinner? What do you want to do for dinner tonight? He said P.F. Chang's. I was like, we never done P.F. Chang's on a Mardi Gras day, but let's do it. Hit up P.F. Chang's last night. I actually went away from the Mongolian beef. I didn't go far. I went to sesame beef. Wife got sesame chicken. James got the chicken and broccoli. And everybody comes away happy. Now, we'll say this. We did get, once again, the Great Wall of Chocolate for dessert, and there's a ton left over. It's one piece of chocolate cake. They could feed half a dozen people for dessert. It's ridiculous. But once again, the vibe was great. The atmosphere was wonderful. Our service could not have been better, and everybody walks away happy when you go to P.F. Chang's or off of Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. All right, this day in history. Let's roll. All right, we got to move fast because we started late because of the whole computer debacle.
Yes, we do.
Debacle?
Debacle. Speaking of radio, today in 1907, the first radio broadcast of a musical composition aired today.
Really?
So,
did it say what it was?
Oh, it didn't.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Further research, yeah. 1933, FDR proclaims 10-day bank holiday in the U.S. and attempt stem bank failures and restore confidence.
Oh, in 1933?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So during the break with our Facebook Live audience, we were talking about the Glass-Steagall Act, also of 1933. It's a bigger discussion about tariffs and the overall economy. But anyway, keep moving.
All right. 1946, Winston Churchill's Iron Curtain speech in Fulton, Missouri, popularizes the term and draws attention to the division of Europe.
Okay. All right. Did you skip 1770?
What was in 1770?
The Boston Massacre?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saved that one for you. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's what it was.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, let's see. Oh, man, I got a few here. 1955, Elvis makes his first TV appearance on a program called Louisiana Hayride.
Yes,
from
sir.
the Shreveport Municipal Auditorium in Shreveport, Louisiana.
That is correct.
Speaking of first, today, 1971, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin is first performed in Belfast. Yeah. 2015, Harrison Ford crash lands his 1942 Ryan Aeronautical ST-3KR aeroplane in California.
All right.
Wild. Hey, 2002, The Osbourne premieres on MTV.
Yeah. You can't mention the Osbournes when you skip the Boston Massacre.
I know, right?
All right.
That's what it was, though. Anything else on this day that I may have missed?
And I'm having a lot of trouble finding what song it was in 1905 or whenever it was that the first broadcast was.
Oh, yeah. 1907. Yep.
1907.
As far as birthdays go here, Eva Mendes. Let's see who else. See if there's anyone on this list anyone would know. Let's see, Penn from Penn and Teller.
Okay.
As well. Let's see. Singer Gabby Barrett as well today. Nice, yeah. Anybody else on?
Yeah, we got plenty. We got Joel Osteen, the televangelist. He was born on this day in 1963.
That could have been.
Yeah. Well, I understand. I completely understand. And we've got a couple from the sports world as well. Pull that list back up. I apologize. Here we go. Rocky Bleier, former Steelers running back, Rocky Bleier, born on this day in 1946. Hall of Famer Michael Irvin, born on this day in 1966. And former Bears and Steelers quarterback Justin Fields, born on this day in 1999.
Yes, sir. And moving on to deaths here. John Belushi, 1982 today. Patsy Cline, Joseph Stalin as well. Let's see. Anybody else on your end?
Hugo Chavez, former president of Venezuela, died on this day in 2013. You said Patsy Cline, right?
Yes.
Okay, then that's what I got.
All right. As far as the national days here, of course, Ash Wednesday.
It's Ash Wednesday.
Is there anything else really that we need?
Nope.
Not at all.
Skip right past the rest of it because it's Ash Wednesday and because we're late. We had to talk to Fred Raiford. He's out there fixing red lights all week long, probably picking up some limbs and branches as well. He's up next. Hey, Bo.
Hello. We got it, man. We got it.
American inventor and broadcast pioneer Lee DeForest was the first to transmit music over the airwaves when he played Eugenia Ferrar's I Love You Truly in an unpublicized test from his laboratory in 1907. Haggai says, ask Fred what happened last week when all the traffic lights went out. That's exactly what we're talking about today. Now they're all being fixed this week. Hey, Bo.
Cheer up, Rich. Like, hey, Mardi Gras over.
Yeah. No. No. We had a little problem in here.
Yeah, I was in the text stream. I saw it.
I don't know what was.
I don't either, except maybe you crashed it.
Don't make it sound
like I can't go.
Because it worked the whole way until that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, after ABC, I was like, oh, wait. So I come back. Or your money now. That's what it was. All good, though. All good.
I need to do Vex in this segment.
No.
Well, let me do my third so I can stay on time. I'll make up Vex in the next segment. (818) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It seems like everything's back up and running to normal. So let's talk about things that weren't up and running to normal. Last week, there's a major snafu with a number of traffic lights around the city. Here to talk about getting them back online is Fred Raiford. Fred, how are you, man?
Pretty good, Brian. How about you, sir?
Doing very well. I want to get to what you saw yesterday, what kind of damage Baton Rouge got yesterday in the storm in a little bit, but we got to start with the more the larger story, as it were, and that's the traffic lights. First of all, what happened?
Well, Brian, on the 28th of February, around 11:45, we got the alarm that went off within our system that indicated that we were having some signal problems, and when it did, it actually put about 150 signal locations under flash mode, and we were sending people out to go verify what was going on. I think we got everything back out of flashing mode and where it's operating, but we still have a lot of work to do this week to get the system back up and going and where it needs to be, for sure.
Okay, what goes into that? I mean, because we're talking about not just each individual intersection, but linking them all back together with their firmware. So talk to me a little bit about what goes into the logistics behind it.
Well, the good thing is we have the vendor down here with us to help us go through the software issues that we had. I mean, with firmware issues that we're dealing with, that's for sure. And it's all within the controller itself, and getting those back online, we're going to have to do some updates, which is going to take us a little bit of time to accomplish that with these controllers. That being said, there's still going to be some times when we actually get it finished that we're going to have to, get back online, which may require us to look at putting the signals back in flash, but our traffic people would be at that location to be sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to. Because it is a safety issue also for the motoring public that once we get back online, which we hope to be sometime by the end of this week, but signals are working, but that may not be ideal, but we will try to get everything back online before the end of this week.
Okay, now I know I give you grief about the synchronization of red lights all the time, but
yes, sir.
This is a part of the equation as well. This equation is a lot deeper than just the light is working or the light is not working. The light's going to be talking to everybody.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely correct. Because right now, our system is offline right now because we want to be sure we get all the problems resolved before we get back online. Because when we do that, I mean, that's going to take a little time itself because we're going to have to go in sections of the parish that where we had problems with the signals, put them on, be sure the corridors are addressed like they're supposed to be, and have some checking and balances of the system to be sure it's functioning like it's supposed to be. I mean, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's some challenges that we'll have to deal with, but I know I have the people and the manpower to be able to address that as quickly as possible.
How much of this is your people and how much of this is the vendors?
He has a couple people that they will bring out. We have probably 6 or 7 crews that we're working. I mean, while we have to deal with the actual signals itself, we will be going from location to location, get it updated like it's supposed to be, get it back within the system. We also will be checking it out to be once we have the system update, we want to be sure that it doesn't go back into flash mode while we're there at the controller and also at the location of that intersection. Which may take 5 minutes to be able to accomplish that. So there's going to be some people or going to be some traffic issues that we'll deal with this week, but hopefully at the end of this week, we'll be back where we need to be and get people moving like it has been.
We're talking with Fred Raiford from DPW about getting all the traffic lights back online. Fred, 150 signals hit flash mode. Was this is it a particular area or how spread out over town was it?
It was spread out, pretty, I guess you'd call it from a regional standpoint, it was a lot of locations. We had some on Burbank, we had on College, we had it in Essen, we had it on Foster. We also had some on Perkins, O'Hammond. It was different locations, and every one of those will have to be checked again, get our firmware addressed, and have it updated. It needs to be addressed, and it's funny. I just heard you having technical issues with your system at your office. This type of things you don't like for them to happen, but if they were going to do, I'd rather catch it right now and make sure that where we need to be to address the problems for the long term, for sure.
Yeah, you lucked out by it being a holiday week. I mean, because kids aren't in school this week, so that's going to reduce volume on the roads a little bit, to be sure. But I guess where I'm going with that, Fred, is the ones that stayed on. Why did they stay on? It was this didn't seem like system wide. It was more even though it's 150, it seems like it's more individual.
Well, there are locations, and the problem, what really happened is the firmware really had so much going, the noise and the locations when trying to transmit all the data that we were picking up at that time around 11:45 really threw the whole system into a crank. But these were the locations that had the most problems, and that's why they went into flash. Well, the good thing about it is could have been worse, could have been more. But, at this point, we're trying to make sure we address that so we don't have that problem in the future.
Mapping this out, and I'm not going to hold you to it, but ballpark it for me. How long before everything's back up?
Well, our goal and objective is what the people we have, hopefully before the end of this week, maybe by Friday. If not, it'll be the first part of next week. And the reason for this, Brian, I think I need to make sure that people who are having to drive to and from locations, there will be some temporary inconvenience when we start bringing the system back online. There's no question about that, because we will be there, but people will see what we're doing. But we may have to go back and be sure that it doesn't go into a flash mode for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes at that point once we get the system back online. When we bring the entire system, as I said, we'll have to look at sections of the area of our traffic signal locations, make sure we bring them up, and when we get them back online, to be sure that they don't go back into the flash mode, because that's not what we want either. So we're going to be safe to be able to assure that the motor pup that are driving on these roadways can be assured that at least it's functioning back like it needs to be and like it was in the past.
I'm going to pivot here before we get you out of here. We're talking with Fred Raiford from DPW. Let's talk a little bit about the storms that rolled through yesterday. I know it was compact in its time frame, but pretty widespread in that squall line. How bad did we get it in Baton Rouge? What did your office see?
Well, I do know that for sure that the signal at Jones Creek and Coursey, the one I know you heard you talking about.
Yep.
Yesterday, the storm put that in a flashing mode also. And the reason for that, we had a surge, electrical surge within the actual controller box itself that actually burned up the breaker and some other components in the actual controller box itself. But there again, I know we had people out there working on it this morning and should have it back out in line before the day's over. As far as the weather, yes, I thought we was going to go move more north from looking at all the radar and stuff that we have, but probably around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, it hit East Baton Rouge Parish fairly well. Yeah. But from what I understand, talking with the Department of Maintenance, we had about 8 trees that had fallen across roadways. All of them but one, I think, have been removed, and that one that hasn't been removed because it's still tied up in some electrical lines. And once that is addressed, then we'll go ahead and take the steps to remove the tree. But the wind was pretty significant. I probably got an inch and a half of rain at my house that fell probably within about 40 minutes, and it was pretty heavy, and with the wind blowing like it was, and from listening to the radar, we had places that were probably around 40 to up to 60 miles an hour. That type of wind speed certainly creates problems for everybody.
The tree that's still down, where is it?
I don't know, be
Okay.
honest. I wanted to ask that, Brian, but I was trying to get myself ready for all the other things I got today, and I just didn't get a chance to ask. So
no sweat at all. No sweat. You knew I was going to catch you with one. We got Fred Raiford with us, and yeah, I can second that with the amount of rain in the short period of time. I mean, between the rain and the wind yesterday, it sounded like a standing ovation inside our house, and yeah, it lasted a good 40 minutes before it was all said and done. But overall, a couple trees down. That being said, no major flooding or anything.
no, sir, we didn't have any of that, which I'll be honest with was a little surprise, especially in some of the areas. You may have had some street flooding, but I think most of the water that would hit on the streets and what I saw some of the channels this morning coming in, some of our major outfalls, it was going and running pretty quickly. So I think that's a positive part from an overall drainage standpoint.
He is Fred Raiford from DPW. Thank you. I'm looking forward to either Friday or early next week is what we're hoping for. Emphasize on the hoping for, because when you're dealing with all the computers and all the logistics and everything, it can never be 100% sure. But looking for the red lights to be back up and running real soon. And we always appreciate your availability.
Well, Brian, I certainly will make sure you're aware of that so you can broadcast that out to all your listeners, because I think that is important. I mean, we want to get our system back the way it needs to be, and I think we have the capability and also the people to do it. We're going to move forward just as quickly as possible.
Always appreciate it. Thank you so much, Fred.
Tk you, Brian.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yep. We're coming up on 8:30 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Just got a call from Hillar Moore. Hopefully he's on his way in right now. I you know what? I don't want to guarantee it, but if I were a betting man, and I am, Fred's going to text me back the location of that down tree before the show's over with. Because that's how he is. He's going to follow up right now. You know it. Before we get you to break, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's downtown on 3rd Street or the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Mathern's has got you covered. They've been your Mardi Gras headquarters all carnival season long. Well, now that Mardi Gras is in the rearview mirror, don't forget, if you're looking for a place to pick up some, I don't know, fried catfish during Lent, Mathern's has got you covered at both locations. Downtown on 3rd Street, fantastic lunch counter there. Equally great over there on the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. Also, speaking of that Nicholson Drive location, all baseball season long, Mathern's has got you covered for whatever you need for tailgating. Whether you forgot to bring out the charcoal, the lighter fluid, need to restock on beer, they're just a stone's throw away from Alex Box Stadium, the closest full-service grocery store to Alex Box Stadium. It's Mathern's. Oh, you got in. Sorry about that. Normally this front door is open by 8. Yeah, so. Nothing much. I'm going to blast out of here immediately at 9 because of my little news thing at Rotary. I can't do noon mass to get my ashes. So St. Francis Xavier has a 9 o'clock. So I'm going to try and very inconspicuously sneak in probably during the second reading. What are we talking about today?
You could eventually ask me about the tax if you needed, but
Well, that's
so pretty much fatal overdoses were down again.
John. Make sure we're off. Time to get a look at your forecast, and here's what we've got going on. Expect these clear skies to stick around for a couple of days. Today, tomorrow, and Friday to be exact, with rain coming in late Friday night into Saturday morning. Today's high gets up to 64. Overnight low tonight gets down to 38. Love it. Tomorrow we'll top out at 67, then get back down to 46. We'll be up to 79 on Friday before we have rain come through and reset things on Saturday. 80% chance of rain on Saturday, and then Sunday's high is 60 again. So we're going to hang on to a couple of lower temps if we can for, until we absolutely have to let go of them. Right now it's sunny and 55 in downtown Baton Rouge. So I had to move DC Current presented by LABI when Garrett moved out. I've got Julia Letlow now, and she does Wednesdays at 8:35. So if I can move you to a Tuesday or a Thursday. Okay. I just, yeah. She's actually in the Oval Office right now. So, okay. It is 8:38 to Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got our district attorney, Hillar Moore, in with us. We call it On the Air with Hillar Moore. Get an update from his office every month. How are you, sir?
Doing great, and you?
Doing very well as well. The big headline has got to be the upcoming proposed tax, but I don't want to get to that yet because we got numbers to go over first. Can we start with fentanyl?
Sure.
I feel like fentanyl has been a topic where we pounded on it while numbers were getting worse, where we were setting records year over year. And now it's like the headlines aren't as big anymore. Do the headlines reflect the reality here? Is that we're starting to see this trend in the right direction?
Absolutely. No, so you and I have been doing this for 5 or 6 years.
I think we're in year 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And so always sounding the alarm every year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That the numbers were up like big percentages.
Right.
50, 35, whatever. And they continue to go every year until last year,
Mhm.
when we ended the year last year, 35% below the year before, which was significant.
Mhm.
And so today I can tell you that even better, on top of the 35% reduction from last year, we're now 25% more reduced
Okay.
than last year.
Okay.
So the difference is significant.
So the total number last year versus 2 years ago would be.
I mean, we started around over 300
Yeah.
something deaths, and
Right.
I think that in 2024 we're at 187. So we're significantly
And then down
moving in that
25% from 187.
From 187 so far. We're very new into the year,
Mhm.
but that does give you a good indication that we're moving there.
Is there a way to put attribution on this to talk about what is causing the downturn? I mean, do we have Narcan more readily available? Are folks just kicking the habit and maybe not turning towards areas where that they would have fentanyl? Or the third part of this is it wasn't that long ago that State Representative John Stefanski put out a bill. I remember being at the press conference. You were at the press conference. The sheriff was at the press conference. We've got tougher penalties for peddling fentanyl now.
So I think there's really no way to actually tell.
Right.
But I think all of those together, Narcan for sure.
Mhm.
I think people are learning a lot more. Families have a lot more Narcan at their disposal.
Mhm.
Stefanski's that I'm not sure if it was his bill or not, but
I'm 90%
it's
sure it was.
significant because we could hear on the street and what the people on the street tell the officers.
Yeah.
But also the enforcement particularly by the sheriff's office on fentanyl has been phenomenal to the point that we hardly can keep up with our staff. And I mean, it is just unbelievable the amount of arrest and the volume that they get.
Hardly keep up with our staff. That's teasing the tax. We're going to talk
No,
about in a little while.
but it's just the truth of the matter is that the amount of fentanyl that they get,
Mhm.
and then that along with guns and the number of people that are involved in one case. When you have a case as a prosecutor, you have 4 and 5 defendants. That means you need 4 and 5 separate independent defense lawyers as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody has different defenses. It makes the case a lot more complicated, but it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to see some changes with the federal government, and maybe taking more of these cases than they have been.
Okay.
The one other thing that we didn't mention though is the government, the United States government. When you and I talked for years, I think we've always said you're really never going to stop this until you stop Americans wanting fentanyl,
Right.
because it's a uniquely an American problem.
Mhm.
And so until you stop things coming through the border, and overwhelmingly drugs are coming through the border.
Yeah.
We have seen the price fluctuate a little bit here, but looking at cities like Dallas, the price has really significantly increased because the less amount of drugs that are now coming through the border. Just like the human trafficking would normally cost $8,000 to traffic a person across the border, is now up to $30,000
Good night.
because of what's happening at the border. Maybe things that are going with China and Russia, tariffs and things. But we are seeing that the drug flow is slowing down. However, unfortunately, on this side of the border, there's a ton of drugs still here.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe some of it is you're seeing some of the drugs are stepped down and watered down.
Right.
Some because they don't know what the future is going to hold, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So the answer to the question, I'm not really sure, but I think it's all of those.
Well, and there will always be demand. Just since the beginning of time, there's always been demand, and there always will be. And you don't get a whole lot of reasonableness when it comes to price points from that demand end. The problem of the enforcement in which you're talking about is when you make it that much more costly. If it's not profitable to do business, it's going to reduce the supply side a great deal.
In particular, when the amount of time that someone spends is that much more significant. So, we'll see. We hope that this number keeps going on. And unfortunately for families who've lost people so much in the past, it's not great. I'm sure it's good news for them, but not my son could have been saved.
Right. Well, and that's just such a tough balance because tragedy would hopefully, beget solutions. It's just it's never not going to be unfortunate, but you don't not fix the problem because you lost someone.
But again, it's a uniquely American problem, and
I wonder why that is.
Well, you would have to think that China surely does not mind that we're killing ourselves,
right?
In other countries like that. So, I mean, that's my take.
We got District Attorney Hillar Moore in with us as we check in with the District Attorney's office roughly once a month to get an update of what's going on crime-wise out in Baton Rouge. Let's talk about the big stories when it comes to homicides, non-fatals, and shots fired. Because we got to talk about all three. You can't talk about one without talking about the other two because you can't determine the amount of violence in Baton Rouge based off of someone's aim. So, where are we at with homicides right now?
So, it's again another. I'm glad I'm here today because it's just a good news day. But start with the non-fatals. So the non-fatals are down this year 35% from as of March 2nd.
Okay,
which is significant.
Yes,
from last year.
Yeah.
And then you would think that murders would be down the same amount, and so the murders are down 38%. So pretty much hand in hand.
Okay.
But we've seen times when it was different, lopsided.
Yeah.
But this year they seem to be hand in hand. And right now, I think that shots fired are fairly even from last year. I don't actually have that number right now as of today, but surely we're liking where we are, and hopefully going in that right direction because the earlier months, the last several years, have been high months.
Yes,
and in fact,
last year especially. Last year, January started us off completely on the wrong foot.
Yes, last year we had 42 non-fatal shootings compared to 27 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the homicides last year were 11 versus less. So yes, we are off on the right foot so far.
Let's talk about shots fired for just a second. I get a question every time we talk about shots fired, whether it be with you in here or with Chief of Police in here. I always get the question after the show is over with, how do we count that? Where do those numbers come from to know how many shots were fired in East Baton Rouge Parish?
So shots fired overwhelmingly because it never misses a shot. And again, there's only 12
in the area where it's at, though.
There's only 12 square miles to my recollection.
Yeah,
somewhere around there. So it's all the others, which is more difficult,
mm-hmm.
and that is who called in shots fired,
right?
And how many shell cases maybe did you find after an officer heard shots and the one called it in? Nationally, the national study shows that the number of shots fired that are called in by citizens is 18%. So when I tell you we had 3,000 shots fired instances last year, but for the 12 square mile area, you could maybe extrapolate, or I'm not sure that's
So
right word.
if you, I mean, it would be
It'd be
irresponsible to try and math this one out, but just take the 3,000 number and multiply it by 4.5. I mean, that's
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And look, not all places in Baton Rouge have that volume of shooting. Surely, we have the 12 shot spotters. They're high volume historically, although it has shifted and moved. And I like shot spotter. I would like to keep it. I think it's going to skew our numbers by not having it.
Yeah.
I know the police are still working with shot spotter. The cost is expensive.
Yes.
I got it, and so that's a numbers game. But I'm not sure where we're going to be with actual reporting to you and the people of how we're really doing on shots fired.
Well, and we've had Chief Morse on. He talked about this specifically about the cost to re-up and whatnot, and the software and the very limited geographical space that it covers. All that plays in, but from your office's end, it's you're just removing a tool,
right? And keeping numbers being consistent throughout the years, we will now be inconsistent in comparing one year versus the next. It's the same with so really can't keep track of machine guns or Glock switches or auto sears. We can tell you when there's full auto by when you hear that or when you see it, but that doesn't mean that you had a gun that was a full auto and only shot 2 rounds versus 20 or 50 where it's a full auto. Some we don't know.
You mentioned Glock switches. Can we got about a minute and a half till break. What is the latest with the Glock switches? Are they continuing to grow in popularity, or are we seeing it get? Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, we're seeing the increase in Glock switches, auto sears, fully automatic weapons, whatever term you want to use to call them. There are auto conversion devices, and I want to say that we're now up to confirming having around 108 last year.
Goodness gracious!
And the numbers have been continuing to increase, and
Right. So for description purposes, a Glock switch takes a semi-automatic weapon and makes it an automatic weapon.
Correct.
Essentially.
And for $30.
For $30.
Yeah, either a Glock switch or an auto sear. And again, it's unfair to use the term Glock.
Yeah.
Because it works better in the Glock, but it's in really every one of them.
The last page had
it. So in every one of them. So as you can see in 2020, we had one case. 21 6, 2022 43, 2023 63. 24 actually wound up to be 108 cases. So it nearly doubled.
Yeah.
By the end of the year. And this is cases where people were arrested with the switch, not actually used the switch. So we are seeing more and more of that.
He is District Attorney Hillar Moore. We're going to pick it up on Facebook Live. We're going to continue right now on air. We'll pick it up after the break. So penalties for Glock switches are what?
10 years.
Okay.
0 to 10.
Yeah. And does anybody, like those who would have a Glock switch, do they care?
Generally, no.
Yeah.
Because the legislation, although as helpful as it was, that now you can charge someone with a Glock switch just for possessing the switch itself. It does not have to be on the weapon itself as well. But it carries up to 10 years. The problem is it is not considered a crime of violence. So if I convict you and you do get 10 years in jail, you can walk right out and buy another weapon because you're not prohibited, because it's not a crime of violence, which is a significant issue for us. So when we find someone with a Glock switch, if they have drugs on them, we'd rather them plead to the drug offense, which makes them a prohibited offender, and they can't carry a weapon. So again, for prosecution, you're not receiving a really true look at how you're prosecuting machine guns, because you're better having a lesser offense.
That is so jacked up. You're rolling with the cards you're dealt, but
yes. The other is, I'm not sure when you would like to talk about is blight. The mayor is really big right now on blight, and so we're looking at some things with the mayor and with Jeff LaDuff. As to how that kind of plays into things, and I know it's a big deal for the mayor.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about the tax.
Okay.
Before we get out, we need to before we get out of here, because it's
your
side's got to get talking got to get conversation rolling. That there is a reason for this. I am going to ask the question of, what do you say to the people who would say, let's wait and see what the mayor wants to do with the rest of the budget before talking about an individual tax?
Yeah, yeah,
that's probably going to be your biggest question. So
yeah,
we'll deal with it. And y'all, I'm gonna say this on air after we come back in from traffic. Told you Fred was gonna text back. He did. Had Fred Raiford on.
Oh yeah.
So he said there were like 8 trees that were downed
Mhm.
crossing roads, and they've removed all but one of them. I said, "Where's the one that wasn't removed yet?" And he didn't know.
That would be odd for me to think he did know, because he's the hardest working guy we got.
Well, I had him on to talk about the red lights. So talking about yesterday's damage was kind of like a one-off. But as soon as he was off the phone, I said on the air, I said, I guarantee you Fred's going to text you before the show's over with.
No doubt.
With the follow-up on that.
He knows every nook and cranny in Baton Rouge, and I'm not sure what Baton Rouge will do when he's no longer there.
But I say it repeatedly. It was started off as a joke, and now I fully mean it. Every day that goes by that we don't clone Fred Raiford is a wasted day.
No doubt about it.
There are people that run the city, and then there are people that run the city.
Yeah. May have news tomorrow night on Afghanistan.
Really?
I've drafted it, but I'm waiting to hear what happens at an airport.
Okay.
So I'll send the blast out if it comes.
Yeah, please. Trying to think when we could get you back on.
I mean, it'll have, if it goes down, it's tomorrow night at 8 here.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge. So.
That sounds like more than just an announcement. That sounds like actual action.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna find room for you to pop back on Friday. Just a quick hit.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll know today what happens.
Okay.
It just came all of a sudden. Did LSU win or lose last night? They were
baseball. 11-9, they win.
Because they were losing when I was listening. I figured they were going to come back, and
there are morons who expect perfection all season long.
So I read someone. I don't read social media. Someone showed me that Jay is peaking too early. Like, last year was 3-12 when he had his first radio show, and like people were saying, game past him. Now he's peaking too early.
He's not. That's
the SEC is going to be brutal.
The SEC is going to be brutal, and then you're going to have to reset and build up again. It's
oh man.
856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Halliday and Roland Red along. Going to get right to District Attorney Hillar Moore in just a second, but earlier in the hour we had Fred Raiford on from DPW. We were talking about some of the storm damage from yesterday, and Fred had mentioned a number of trees that were down, and he said all but one had been removed. I asked him which one had been removed, and he did not know off the top of his head. And I came back and said, I guarantee you, he's going to text me before the show is over with. Sure enough, he texted. That tree that's down is on Voss Street, right near Winburn. The power lines are being removed as we speak, and the tree will be removed immediately afterward. The tree crew is ready to go. So Voss off of Winburn
I
is
think-
the last remaining tree.
I think he knew it. He just wanted his name.
You know,
I mean, because he knows everything.
he does.
I mean,
Look, I've said it a million times over. Every day that goes by that we don't clone Fred Raiford is a wasted day.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. I know. One day he's going to say, I want to be on the beach with like fruity drinks that have umbrellas in them, and we're not going to know what to do.
I don't see him doing that.
No? All right. We got a couple minutes left. You've got a tax proposal that's going to be on the May ballot. Yeah. Walk me through what this looks like millage wise and why it's needed.
Yes, so it's a $4 million, means that it would generate around $24 million a year for an operation budget for me. Currently, my budget is 14, so it's going to mean an additional $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
It means that I will be able to be on par with the smaller parishes of Orleans and Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been saying this for years and years and years. We're drowning, we're losing, and we're behind. The backlog is killing us. The backlog is my biggest problem. The backlog is what this tax is all about. Regardless of whatever else the city parish may try to do, there's just not enough money to give me $10 additional million per year. Although seems to be money looking at other things and other taxes, but for me, I needed it yesterday.
Right.
For me to wait for another year and then maybe another year and to wait for the parish prison, wait for the juvenile detention center. We can't get any further behind.
Right.
Because it affects public safety. It's affecting my people. We're losing folks right and left. But this is about the backlog and public safety and, ability to keep up with time. Like right now, I didn't know my budget until December 15th of this year for me to plan starting January 1st. There's no way to really plan your budget and to keep up with digital things that are happening.
Right.
This way, I know what my budget is. I know what I'm going to be able to do. I know changes in crime, changes in technology to keep up. But again, it's getting people that are able to stay back, prepare trials, and go to work and try the cases. The other thing it does is that if I'm able to pass that tax, the $8 million that the city parish gives me,
yes,
because I know the mayor is looking for money,
right?
That $8 million no longer goes to me. That $8 million can be used to defend the public defender, because as you know, you're not going to have a DA that's out too much bigger than a public defender, and police are looking for money, and the courts are looking for money. To me, that $8 million solves a lot of issues, although it is an additional $5 a month for a taxpayer of a house of $200,000. And I hate to ask people for this, but I would not ask if it wasn't public safety.
We're going to have this conversation a lot more as we move towards May 3rd. In the meanwhile, he's District Attorney Hillar Moore. We always appreciate the time. All right, guys, I got to skedaddle out of here. We will see y'all tomorrow.